The Peugeot 2008 has had a midlife facelift and is looking better than ever. But how does it stack up to its subcompact SUV rivals, and is it worth the cost? Let's find out. You're tuned to Four Wheels in a Seat. My name's Alex Dalrymple. This is my channel where I review new cars every week for people who need to buy a new car and don't know which way to turn. I can help you out with a simple, straightforward review. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, the notification bell, and if you enjoy the video, please do give me a like. The 2008's facelift is probably most evident here at the front, where it has taken on a slightly more aggressive kind of look, losing that sort of surprised cat look that the original 2008 had. So these headlights are now a little bit sleeker. We've got a redesigned front grille, cat scratch style daytime running lights that glow when you approach the car with the key in your pocket. Still very distinctly Peugeot. Around the side here, not huge wheels, they're 18 inches, but I like the design of them, and they look a little bit sort of almost like they belong on an EV, but this car is not an EV. It is just a regular petrol, a top spec GT no less. There's only two cars in the lineup, Allure and GT. One thing that is missing that I wish this car did have is a sunroof. So it does get a little bit dark and gloomy inside sometimes, but we'll have a look in there in just a minute. I kind of like what they've done here with these angles here on the rear door, creating a nice sort of triangle shape, and I like this little bit of detailing here on the C-pillar. Very sleek sort of look. It looks like this car is just at home on French roads. You can almost imagine driving down the Champs-Élysées or tackling the nightmarish roundabout of the Arc de Triomphe in one of these. Big Peugeot badge on the back here, and down low, two exhausts that are 100% real. That's right, real exhausts. They're not fake. Under the boot lid here, which is not powered, we've got a bit over 400 litres of storage space, which is okay. Knock down the rear seats, you can expand that by a further 1,000 litres. A little bit of extra space here underneath the false floor if you want to hide some precious goods. But all up, the 2008 looking pretty good. Under the bonnet, we've got a pretty small engine that punches above its weight. It's a 1.2 litre three-cylinder petrol engine that outputs 96 kilowatts of power and 230 newton meters of torque. Fuel efficiency comes in at 5.4 litres per 100 kilometres on a combined cycle. It drinks premium unleaded, unfortunately, and it's not the most refined petrol engine I've ever come across, but it is actually quite zippy. The inside of the 2008 has had a bit of a refresh as well, and still feels really nice and premium and just a little bit luxe, with a really nice mix of materials with some soft touch plastics up on top. We've got this faux carbon fiber plastic here across the beltline that's actually quite soft to the touch. There's a fair bit of give there. That extends over here onto the doors where it becomes a little bit firmer, and it really does look like the real thing, I have to say. Center console screen is 10 inches and runs a stripped down version of the software found in the 308 and 408. It's reasonably easy to use, has a nice sharp picture, even has a couple of interesting features on it like games, and has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which now work in full screen mode rather than the previous model's sort of split screen version that it had before. Climate control also runs through this system, although there are a few climate control buttons here on this really nice row of keyboard-like switches here underneath that are very satisfying to use. A couple of little capacitive touch buttons up on top of that for the seat heating. Two USB-C ports here on either side of the wireless phone charging, which is just behind this cubby door here. We've got a little bit of storage space underneath that and a 12-volt outlet. Gear shifter, it's that nice sort of Peugeot big switch here that just goes back and forth, and a nice little pad of that faux carbon fiber underneath that. Cup holders that are actually a little bit on the small side, I have to say, and a equally small center console bin with a nice soft leather armrest. The digital instrument cluster, like the 408 and 308, features a unique 3D effect. It's 10 inches all up, although the digital screen in the middle is actually a bit smaller. It creates that 3D effect by reflecting a screen off the top here and bouncing it off this piece of plastic in front of the main screen, if that makes sense. You can't really quite clearly see it on screen though. The steering wheel, I like this Peugeot steering wheel, although it's not for everyone. It does sit quite low and it's small. It's got a flat top and a flat bottom, the nice GT badge on the bottom there, and some fluoro stitching here. The problem with this is though, and it's not an issue for me because I'm relatively tall, but if you're a short person and you don't sit up as high as I do, then you're not seeing the entire display on the digital instrument cluster because it's blocked by the wheel. The paddle shifters here on the back of the steering wheel have a really nice feel to them. They've got a nice little bit of travel and they kind of click very satisfyingly. Cruise control is handled here by this additional stalk on the steering column, and the seats are Alcantara with leather accents. There's some nice stitching on it, continuing that theme that we see all the way through the cabin. And to complement that as well, we have interior lighting that can be color matched to the stitching as well. The seating position, good visibility out the front, and I've got plenty of headroom, which is nice. I mean, this is not a big SUV, it is quite small, but you know, I'm 190 centimeters tall and I fit in here just fine. The wing mirrors could be a little bit bigger though, but there are blind spot monitors in them to improve blind spot vision. But all up, I think Peugeot have done a really nice job with this cabin. So as I mentioned, yes, this is indeed a subcompact SUV and a 190 centimeter tall adult, and the back seat is never really going to work well behind my own driving position, so knees hard up against the seat in front of me, although there is a bit of an indentation there to give me a smidge more room. My feet are okay though, they're not too squashed in, and I've got plenty of headroom. No armrest unfortunately, just like the Peugeot 408 last week. Center console, we've got a USB-A, USB-C port. The materials here on the back door do feel just a little bit cheaper than the ones at the front, just because there's a lot of hard plastic, even though we do have that carbon fiber print. A little bit of soft touch here on the armrest. And not having a sunroof can make it a bit dark back here, especially with this really dark privacy glass on the windows. So a sunroom would really help, a sunroof would really help lift the ambience of the cabin. But aside from that, it's not too bad back here in the 2008 Peugeot. Something that is missing that, well, I can't seem to find anyway, is hill start assist, which is normally just on all the time anyway. It's not something you can turn off. But my driveway at home is on an incline and I always get a little bit of a heart start in the morning when I'm going to back this car out and put it in reverse and it starts rolling forward. That's not great. I don't know why that wouldn't just be there all the time. For a European car, it's not really all that refined. The ride is smooth enough, but just in terms of noise from the engine, and is a little bit on the noisy side. At first I thought this could have been a diesel. I mean, it's not that loud, but it just sounds a bit sort of gravelly and a bit coarse. The other reason I instantly thought diesel maybe was because there is actually a fair amount of low-end torque. I mean, it's quite zippy. It really does get going when you put your foot down. Also, the automatic on-off when you're stopped at the lights is just a little bit rough, and there is just a fractional delay between you putting your foot on the accelerator and the car starting to move. That's why I'm not really a fan of these systems. Is the Peugeot 2008 a turnback car, a car so good looking that you have to turn back and look at it after you parked it? Yeah, I think especially from the front and the back, it looks really, really good. I think they've done a magnificent job in bringing this car back to life. I wasn't really quite so keen on its original look when this car was launched in 2021, but I think this facelift has worked wonders for it. So yeah, I'd give it a turn back. Something else I don't love is having the adaptive cruise controls here on this stalk behind the steering wheel, because A, you can't see it at all. I mean, it's completely blocked. And so you're really just sort of, you know, doing it by touch. And it's just not that intuitive to use. So there's just really a lot of button mashing that kind of goes on to try and get the system to work. Driving alongside a Toyota Camry at the moment, and it has the signature tissue box on the back parcel shelf, which is something I just don't understand at all. Why? If you're driving in the front seat, how are you going to reach the tissues? Why do you need tissues in a car at all? And I noticed that this Camry has evidently backed into something, big dent in the rear bumper. Tissue box was blocking their view. Two pet annoyances of mine: Camrys with the tissue box on the back parcel shelf, and people who leave the fuel efficiency sticker on their front windscreen long after the car has left the dealership. In fact, if your dealership does their job properly, they should take that sticker off before you even get the car. It's something that only has to be on there while the car is in the dealership. Although, as somebody once told me, Tesla owners are probably keen to leave them on because a little bit of virtue signaling going on with that zero consumption figure that they can kind of show off to the rest of the world. The Peugeot 2008 looks good and it's nice and fun to drive. So if French cars are your thing, the 2008 is definitely worth checking out.